The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
But welcome to this late fall's President Speaker Series event. Pleased to see a lot of familiar faces and some new ones, and to have been able to meet some people today. Really glad that you're here on this very cold, almost winter-like, very winter-like day. Hopefully it'll get warm in a little bit. Just to tell you a little bit about the President Speaker Series. I created this series a little over 8 years ago, wanting to bring notable and accomplished professionals to campus to talk about their life and their work in a casual conversational setting. Many of these speakers, not all, but half are alumni, and I think it's very important for our students, when we have a nice group of students here this evening, not only to learn and be very impressed with their accomplishments, but also to realize that they're human beings with a story to tell, and that the path to success isn't a magical event, but one that is possible through talent and ability, yes, but also considerable hard work, dedication, and determination. Past speakers, and these are just a few, have included former Governor John Lynch, Priceline.com CEO and Chairman, also alum Jeff Boyd, Northeast Delta Dental CEO Tom Raffio, and a few years ago we had a special alum day panel, including current trustee Astrid Williams, alumna and former trustee Diane Goodwin, and former trustee Debbie Spring-Reed, who's also the first chair of the board at New England College and executive from Young Boot Camp, and recently acclaimed author and humorist Harrison Scott Key. Now a few words about tonight's speaker. Paul Montrone has a diverse and impressive career history in business, government, military, and public service. He's also a patron of the arts. He's lived in New Hampshire for a long time, residing on the seacoast where his current company is located. Born in Scranton, Pennsylvania, Mr. Montrone graduated magna cum laude from the University of Scranton and later completed his PhD at Columbia University Business School. He began his career at the Pentagon, serving in the Systems Analysis Group in the office of Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara while a captain in the U.S. Army. Paul Montrone was CEO of Fisher Scientific International, Inc., from its initial public offering in 1991 until its merger with Thermo Electron in 2006, forming Thermo Fisher Scientific, Inc. Prior to that, he served as Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of Wheelabrator Technologies, Inc., and he has held other equally impressive executive positions throughout his career. For many years, Mr. Montrone also participated in healthcare policy matters at the national level and in business policy through his activity with the Business Roundtable. He served on a number of corporate boards and on numerous nonprofit boards as well, notably the Metropolitan Opera, where he was president and chief executive officer, and now president emeritus. I first met Paul Montrone about a month ago after he had graciously agreed to be our special guest for the speaker series. I was delighted to get to know him, to hear his perspectives on many matters ranging from business to education, government, and the arts. He's a true Renaissance man, knowledgeable on a wide array of topics and passionate about his beliefs, positive about life in general. Normally, I would ask one of our faculty members or deans or vice presidents to be an interviewer for the series, depending upon the guest's background. But since I had the opportunity to spend some time getting to know Paul Montrone, I realized that I would really like to do this interview, and so I will be the interviewer this evening. So we're truly honored and grateful to have you here this evening, Paul Montrone, as our President Speaker Series guest. Welcome. mentioned in your brief biographical introduction, you earned a PhD from Columbia University, and you received a bachelor's degree from the University of Scranton. Those are very different institutions, and are very different institutions. How did studying at both of these institutions frame your thinking about life and work? What was that experience like?
Well, I think you observed that they were two radically different institutions. I grew up in Scranton. Around the time I was about to go to college, my father got ill. So I basically lived at home. University of Scranton, local university for a lot of kids' community. And I have to tell you, it was a really exceptional experience. It's a Jesuit institution. And the Jesuits at the time felt that, you're coming in and you're a young kid and you really don't know anything about anything. And we are going to tell you, we're going to put your curriculum together. And I had virtually no electives. I mean, I was an accounting major. I had maybe 2 electives when I was in junior and senior year. But otherwise it was, we are going to form you as an individual, teach you values, teach you what's important in life. And I have to tell you, when I look back at that and observe the value that in life was really immeasurable. So, I mean, it opened up my mind. I mean, we were all philosophy and theology minors, everybody had to do that. So, like, epistemology, what the heck is epistemology? I mean, whoever even heard of it. So now all of a sudden you're starting opening up and metaphysics and rhetoric and all kinds of stuff. And this is what we had when we were science and math and arts and history. So I think that from that point of view, you emerge with values, really important things in life like that. Okay, now you flip over to Columbia Business School, and I would say almost the opposite in terms of that's a career-oriented. All right, here we are, let's learn, technical skills. I studied operations research, which is one of my majors in the field. And so it was more of a professional form your life and be equipped to go into, be equipped to do your professional thing. And so, I studied finance, operating research, and accounting, and so forth. There was one little carryover, and one of the things that I think people learn in life are that how important relationships are, and it's always been an important part of my life. And the question is, why did I go to Columbia for a PhD as opposed to an MBA? And the answer was, first of all, the reason I went to Columbia was there was a guy named Clarence Walton, who was a Scranton guy, who was then at Columbia in charge of the PhD program. And my good relationship there with a guy by the name of John Gavin, and John Gavin said, no, you gotta be here, I'm gonna call Clarence and you're gonna get out here, and so forth and so on. So it was like the whole thing was like greased. And Clarence said, go into the PhD program because there's a lot more fellowship money available than the MBA program. So we went to the PhD program. And then I think that the other thing that when I was there, of course, I had fellowships and I had to work also, and I was teaching undergraduate as a helping professors there. And it turned out I really didn't enjoy teaching. I don't know why. That's why I never went into it, even though it was there as a possibility. And I have nothing against teaching, but
That's okay.
This wasn't for me. The other thing I think that I learned at both institutions, because of the need for both study and work and social life, or student life, whatever you want to call it, was time management. And I think that's probably, I think people probably learn that as they get older, that's really your limited resource. It's not money at all, it's time. And what are you going to spend your time on? And is the time your devoted to whatever you're doing, is that paying off? It's kind of frustrating to me now to look at my grandchildren and the amount of time they're spending doing their little games, you know, and I'm saying to myself, oh boy, how are they going to learn that? And so I think time management was something that I had to really struggle with. When I went to Columbia, I met my wife in high school, so we were married right after she graduated from college, and off we went to New York. She was a teacher, and she was supposed to also support me, see? And so there I was, right? Okay. She got pregnant. I don't know what happened there, but so her teaching career was rather limited, but also put a lot of pressure on me to finish that PhD quickly. And so one of the things I did was you finish your coursework and then you have your dissertation. So I carefully studied who was around and the amount of time it took them to get their doctorate degree. And I picked people that finished quickly, because there's a lot of things, you probably don't know much about this if you haven't studied for PhD, but like, okay, there's a whole thing with the dissertation. Your committee decides whether you have to keep going. So I had a committee to get it fast. And the other thing that was, I think, has like memorable experience as well, one of the great things about my wife's teaching was she was teaching in New Jersey, commuting. We were living in New York, and so they were deducting, I didn't notice, but they were deducting from her pay for the teachers' union pension. And then when she dropped out, they reimbursed her, they gave her that money back, because she was no longer going to be in it. And it was like, I don't know, this has been $100 or maybe it was $150, whatever it was, we were able to go and buy a little 8mm movie camera. And that was the key to keeping the history of our family, because we now had, our daughter was born, and I had pictures right from birth all the way through, thanks to the pension plan of the New Jersey teachers.
That's terrific. What was your dissertation on?
It was a quantitative analysis of financial problems. As a matter of fact, I have a copy of my assistants had been cleaning out my files and it popped out. And I looked at it and I couldn't understand it. It was so esoteric, formulas and things. I looked at that. I said, I got to study this sometime. Put it aside. But that was the decision.
Quantitative.
Well, it was the beginning of, I mentioned operational research. That was the beginning of applying mathematics and analytics to business problems. That's what operational research was. So this was exactly that. It was taking a financial, it was a question of when you should finance and when you should not finance, and doing it all mathematically. And that was the biggest thing. And I think that one of the lucky things was I don't think my committee understood it. And oh, by the way, I should add the dissertations that you asked is that remember when Al Gore said he invented the internet, right? Well, I invented word processing.
Okay.
I didn't know it. I was so stupid that I didn't realize it because I was in a hurry. And at that time, for those with blue gray hair, you remember the early computer age with punch cards. So I got my committee to agree to let me do my dissertation on punch cards. And when you did punch cards, then you just push the button with the printer and printed out these big sheets of paper. And so all the drafts they would be turning with these big sheets of paper, which afterward they said they'd never approve again because it's so hard to read. But the advantage of the punch cards was that if I had to edit something, down here in chapter 2 or 3, to edit, you pull the punch cards out, you type up new ones, you pop them in, and you print it again. So nothing about retyping or re-erasing and everything. So I was saying it was an early word process. So why was I not smart enough to figure it's one of those missed opportunities that
Well, that's very interesting, and actually, writing a dissertation is an interesting experience.
Sure.
And we always say that the best dissertation is a done dissertation. So obviously you did that and more. What is your opinion of the value? Told about what you obviously had a very rich liberal arts experience. Obviously, there's a bit of a bias here,
Yeah, of course.
but but we're looking for a frank answer. What do you think the value of the liberal arts is in the post-secondary world today?
Well, I think it's missing. I mean, we have, we're going off into STEM and all that kind of stuff, and I think that it's it opens up areas to your, remember the Greeks, body, mind, and spirit. That's what body, mind, and spirit. So that's the liberal arts. That's what it does. It opens up your mind to subjects that you're not going to bump into. If you don't get it into your education, it's not something that you will gravitate toward. But it stimulates. I believe it stimulates creativity and stimulates the opportunity. It shows you different things that then you can start, applying to your life and helping with your values in life and that kind of stuff. So I think it's phenomenal. And it's a shame that it's kind of a declining. I mean, I think the problem is people can't get jobs, right? So they want to go and study something and get a job. So we got to figure out how to solve that. Boost liberal arts.
We're with you. Foundation for lifelong learning, which clearly served you well.
Oh yeah, the other thing, it gave me a desire to learn. And so I've always kept that desire to learn.
Right.
And, a lot of different areas.
Well, learning has never been more important with technology changing so much and the world changing so much to have that ability. It's good to hear. It's good to hear you have that opinion. How about higher ed in general today? What do you see?
Higher ed, well, I see it through my grandchildren. And the thing that is a little bit distressing, again, going to what I mentioned to you about the Jesuits, was I think I will actually have a lot of electives. I don't want to be critical of academics, but I think today there are too many electives because I see the kids that are picking, they have a major and then they go and they pick that. And I said, what courses they're taking and why, they're kind of all over the lot. So the idea, they are young, they are. I mean, they're not, I think the Jesuits were right in the sense of, hey, and so I would be more for you people saying, all right, we have our core. Some schools, I can probably have that. Even schools that are not totally liberal arts have core courses you have to take. I would say more core for what's going to be very valuable for you in your life and fewer electives. That's the biggest change that I've seen.
That's very interesting. Well, there is some research. I don't know, those of you, some of my colleagues, I think, have read that it says that actually fewer choices at the undergrad level is correlated with higher retention. So maybe we'll have to students. I'm not saying we're going to reduce the catalog offerings, but but maybe it helps you stay focused.
Yeah.
Great. Well, switching gears, you began your career at the Pentagon, as we mentioned, serving in the office of Secretary of Defense Robert Wagner. Tell us how you came to work there and what that was like and how it formed your professional direction.
Okay, so keep in mind the period of time, it was Vietnam era. We had the draft. And you basically had a choice if you were male, the females were, that wasn't gender equality, so it makes that easy. The males, we had to go either draft or ROTC. And so I went into ROTC, and I kind of enjoyed it really. And so I went all the way through and graduated in ROTC. So I had that, then you would get it, if you went to graduate school, you would get a deferment, so you didn't have to go immediately on active duty. So I was deferred while I was at Columbia, and then I was studying, as I said, operations research, and again going to the importance of relationships. So there was a professor there that was a very good friend of a fellow named Alan Enthoven, who was the Assistant Secretary for Systems Analysis. McNamara initiated the whole idea of bringing basically operations research into the Defense Department to figure the least cost ways of doing different things. And he formed this Assistant Secretary for Systems Analysis was Alan Enthoven, and Reynolds Sachs, who was a professor at Columbia at the time, knew Alan. I got friendly with him. I told him relationships are important. And matter of fact, everything I've done in my life has always been through through these relationships. So the answer was, the only uniform I had was my ROTC uniform, because the Secretary of Defense office is a civilian office, so even if you're military, you wear a civilian. So I went immediately from Columbia, I went down, I worked as a civilian for a few months, and then I converted over to military, and spent my 2 years, and I stayed a few months after that as a civilian, and I left. So I was there because of my experience in operations research, and now applying it to defense issues. I would say it had a major impact on my life, not just the operations research side, but in other ways. First of all, the military, what I like about the military, well, why does the military succeed? How do they win wars? Okay, there's some very important pieces of that puzzle. One is training. And having been in the business community almost my whole life, we are nothing in comparison to the military in terms of training. And I have brought any business activities I've done, I've brought more training. I remember years ago, I'd be talking to people, and some people here you don't understand, other people, they don't. I'm trying to figure out why, and it turns out to be something called listening skills. So I brought a trainer, and all the people had to make a course in listening skills. And that, that type of thing. But that's type of thing the military does. The discipline of the military is, as you know, incredible. The intelligence gathering, searching for what's going on, keeping track of what's going on. A lot of those skills are really very high level in the military. I mean, military intelligence, and compare that to what business people do in terms of finding out what's going on. The military is far better. So, seeing those skills, that was something that was very, very educational for me. The other thing was that, so we were applying ourselves to, and we save all you people a tremendous amount of taxpayers' money, because we went to the military and we said, all right, tell us what wars you might be fighting and what might happen around the world, and then we're going to figure out the least cost way of doing that. Okay, that was our, okay. And the military didn't like us, by the way, I should put it out. And so we would do these analytics, and I spent my time, I was very geeky, and I was doing computer simulations in the basement of the Pentagon, working on these huge computers, and simulating these military scenarios that we were provided by the military. And my division was logistics, so we were finding the least cost way to provide logistics. Now, let's say, just to give you an example, the military says we can find. By the way, the military would forecast 20 years of what military conflicts might take place, and they were like 20 years passed over those years. I have to tell you, the stuff they picked up ahead of time was remarkable. So they were nailing what could happen in the world. They were very good at that. Okay, so we might have to fight a war here or a military conflict. Okay, so for logistics, there was basically 3 ways to go. One was airlift, airplanes. The other sea lift, and then pre-positioning. Pre-positioning is taking equipment, etc., and basically building or renting warehouses somewhere in the world, storing all this money. Okay, so now if you're a military person, which of the 3 is going to be the worst? The worst is going to be pre-positioned equipment, because then what do you do when you're sitting in a warehouse waiting for a war, as opposed to airlift or flying planes and sea lift or floating boats? So the cheapest was pre-positioning. So they didn't like that at all. And one of the things the military did to counter what we were doing was they put in their own analytical group to kind of analyze problems ahead of time, where we would make the answers. And so they kind of improved the situation in that regard. But the other thing was I was 25 years old or something like that, and doing things that impact the defense budget. And when you think about it, that was the other thing that impressed me, that young people can really have an impact. If you know what you're doing, and you're factual, and you're great, you can have an we, at that age, had an impact on our military budget. Now, on the other hand, you had some funny things that happened. One of the things that we needed was a large airplane. And so we went to Boeing and Lockheed, and we had them propose large airplanes. And Lockheed both designed huge airplanes. Okay, the competition was won by Lockheed. The airplane they built is called the C-5A. It's still around. C-5A was A, B, C, D, E, now whatever it is. The loser was Boeing. Boeing used the design to build the 747, but here was the 747. So who was the winner? Lockheed. Ultimately, you may not know, was filed for bankruptcy years later. They lost their shirt on the C-5A. So little curious things come out of that you observe that come out of this. The other thing that was surprising to me, I was so stupid on my part, yet I was working on these gigantic computers and never dreamed about a small computer being able to do because there was no help. But there was a company called Digital Equipment Corp, Perkins, and a guy by the name of Ken Olson. You guys must be age older than you are.
We know someone who worked there.
Well, and the interesting thing is, and I was never close enough to Ken or any of those people to understand why they didn't see this coming. Because Apple came and DEC just disappeared. And there they were. They had the small computer first. And but the more stupid thing was me thinking, how these computers, all they are big ad machines. I go into finance. I could have been a geek. I was right there. I still want to do an app. I want to do an app.
Well, sounds like you made some right decisions too. So that led you into your.
Oh wait, I got to give you one more experience one from that, which was really funny, which was the Air Weather Service. In those days, the military used to fly into hurricanes. Now you have all these satellites. But anyway, you want to know how fast the wind was? They would literally fly into them. So they wanted a new airplane. So we again figured the cheapest way, and we picked one of the old bombers that was now discontinued. We said, all right, that's the way. So anyway, the Air Weather Service guys wanted to come in. So there's a couple of 20-year-olds there, and there's the generals, okay? This is a joke, but anyway. And we started rationalizing why this was the best airplane, the cheapest, it's available, blah, blah, blah. And I could see one of the generals he was getting really worked up, and he finally turned around and he said, I'll tell you what, kid, I want you to fly into one of those hurricanes with me in that airplane. And the reason was because what we didn't account for was the fact the way the wings were designed, they were like triangles, and if you go into that hurricane, it's going to flip over. Anyway,
so you didn't go on me.
I didn't go. We changed our mind. We got a different airplane.
Oh, wow. So it sounds like your experience at the Pentagon really helped frame your thinking moving forward.
Oh yeah, it really did. I mean, the whole thing with the discipline, the training, the analytics, and all that just like carried me forward.
Well, you've had a truly remarkable career in business and have been extremely successful. And I have observed, having to come to know a number of highly successful people over the years, that one thing these people have in common is a keen sense, a talent for making the right decision and for recognizing opportunity often where others do not. You've actually spoken of a few opportunities that you wish you seized upon, but obviously you seized upon some right ones. Do you agree with that?
Well, yeah, I agree with that, but it's a little more complex and what I think that you're observing is what happens in the business world. It might be the same in academia. It's like what you are seeing are the successes. And then you say, wow, and you look at, analyze what was the basis for that success. And that's you're absolutely right. Good decisions, opportunity, being able to spot an opportunity. What you're missing when you look at that is how many fall by the wayside and don't succeed. And oftentimes, those people are just as smart and spot opportunities. And I mean, we look at the techie companies now, they go out and build some technology, they sell them for $1 billion. But what we're not seeing is all the techie companies that start and don't make it, and they just fall away with venture capital and so on. So I think I think it's the spotting the opportunity You got to have control. I mean, just take a look at the Boeing 737 and you see what the problem is. We don't have control. It's a great company. And, you got just a few people that, especially in the tech world, I would say that's one of the biggest challenges today in the business world is we can do financial control, but how do you control the tech side? Because most of the people in the management and marketing and operations, they don't understand that about tech. So it all gets delegated down to that little geek group, and down in there, somebody that makes some decisions, and boom, up it pops, and it could be right or wrong. And I look at that world and I say, we have you'll have version 1.1 and then version 1.1, version 2, version 2.2, because all the earlier ones don't work quite as well. And how to detect it doesn't work quite as well, you call it the revised version. In my world, if we came out with a car and the brakes didn't work, we don't have an opportunity to go car 2.0. Forget about it, you're dead, right? So most of my world doesn't have an opportunity, so you wind up with products that are ready for market. As opposed to tech world. The tech world is really hard to control space. The other thing are the uncontrollables. And I've had you point out a lot of success. We're not talking about my failures, okay? So there's the uncontrollables, even though you have a great idea and great execution. All right, if you happen to be in the real estate business, Art Sullivan in 2007, 2008, right? Is that okay? Right, okay. You could be the smartest guy in the world. And they're going to do real estate. And I've been around when the first internet boom, which was the late 90s. If you remember, it turned down. We were supplying a company that was making fiber optic cable, which was new then, and it was over capacity, and boom, we were bankrupt because our vendors went out of business. And then another company we had later was supplying Apple. And Apple was coming out with their new, the new watch, the Apple Watch, and then at the same time, Apple 6 or 5 or 4, okay, so they have the glass, what's it called, the glass? Gorilla Glass, okay, so they have Gorilla Glass. And then they have Sapphire. Okay, so we're making the equipment that makes Sapphire. That's our company, nice company, and Apple is saying, well, we're going to use Sapphire because it doesn't smash and break and it's got all the good quality, blah, blah, blah. They invested like $100 million, they were building a plant, and they were doing all this stuff. And we were like, okay, let's go. We're supplying them with tests and book. But at the last minute, Apple decides they're going to stay with the Gorilla Glass on their phone, they're going to go with Sapphire on the watch. We went bankrupt. That was it. That was the end. So you have things that are, I would call integrated ideas and unforeseen developments, issue developments.
Well, as a follow-up question, it sounds like the ability to accommodate short-term losses or to overcome a failure is also a key to success.
Yeah.
And how you learn from it.
Yeah, you got it. That's right. You got to be ready in case something goes wrong. You're absolutely right. And one of the things that you, I think that's really mentioned, relationships. The other important thing in business and everything you do is integrity. And I think to the extent you have your integrity, you have good relations, people respect you, you in return.
It's the long view. That's true.
Oh, I have a question for you people about business. Do you mind me for a minute? Okay. She mentioned she saw some highly successful. Who was the most successful business person in history? Longest and largest running successful organization. Established a branch in virtually every city in the world, almost like a franchise before franchise were invented. Oh, Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ, don't give him credit. Now, holding aside is divine connection. Just look at it as business characteristics, okay? All right, first of all, passion for it. We had a great product. What was he selling? Salvation, right? He was selling it. Great passion for it. Work ethic. The guy ever took a vacation. No vacations. Built a team. And non-discriminatory, by the way. He had tax collectors, fishermen, he put his team together, he trained them, they were loyal. They even went to their death to stick with him, right? Training, competitive strategy. You remember how he handled the Pharisees, right? And then he said, all right, Rome, I can't take Rome on. Let Caesar deal with Caesar, and God's going to Caesar please. His pitch, he built his brand, okay? To the extent that people still, pay basically for his product, right? They're paying, right? Now the other king, he gets killed, so he miscalculates, but he had a fabulous succession plan. And the succession plan went on for thousands of years. Now here's a very interesting, there's a book published in the last couple of years called Good to Great columns. We have 5 leadership levels. The highest leadership level combines 2 things. Number 1, will, and like intense will. But the other one, you know what it is? Humility. What did Jesus say? He said, blessed are the meek, they will inherit the earth. So if you're humble, a business person, that's what we want to do. We want to inherit the earth. We want everything. So there you go.
Wow. There's a case study.
And by the way, he looked great. He was taking evidence. You take a guy like Bill Gates. The guy's a very humble guy. I don't know if you know much about him. I don't know well. I just know. But he still washes the dishes and drives his kid to school. He's never been like he's high profile in the sense that everybody wants to interview him, but he's not that as a personality. And Buffett is another guy. You know Buffett, he's like down here.
Yeah, wow.
So there you go, humility. It took us 2,000 years to catch up with what Jesus was teaching 2,000 years ago. That's how smart we are, right?
Well, a good moral life and good business seem to be one and the same. Well, speaking on this topic, sort of, you founded the Paul Montrone seminar series on ethics at Columbia University Business School. Tell us how that came about and what was your thinking behind that?
Well, I mentioned integrity, and unfortunately in the business community and other communities, there's a lot of times that is lacking, and ethics is lacking. Okay. If I were running the business school, and I had a lot of experiences, my first 2 jobs, because when I came out of the Pentagon, I went one and then the other. The first job, I wound up being assistant to the president of a guy that really liked ethics, and I left within a year, and he subsequently got into legal problems. And the second guy was a civil, and never got into the same legal problems, but it was just like, and then I went on to a 3rd job, which was fine, and then finally, 4th job, which has been my life job after that. But, so I saw up close, and unfortunately, there's a lot of people in the business world who are unethical. And now the question is, can it be taught in a business school where the average incoming age right now, kids usually graduate college and they go work for a while and they go back to their MBAs, so you're in the high 20s. Is it too late? And if I had to, and then I see people going to jail. I've had good friends that have been in jail for things, sometimes stupid things, sometimes, even things that even people that are not bad on integrity, they just make mistakes. So I think that a business school should have a course on keeping you out of jail or something. How to not do stupid things. Because you see the people that with these big fines and these people that go to jail, they're not stupid people, they just make mistakes. And they compromise their integrity sometimes, and sometimes they do stupid things. And you can just say, okay, I have a bunch of case studies of people that went to fancy schools and got fancy degrees and wound up with these problems. Go through case studies, what happened? I think so. The net result of that is, okay, the least I can do is try to get a little ethics program in a small business school. Right.
And how is that? Has that worked out well?
Well, I can't tell. It's a series of they bring in speakers and kids, and so whether it's paying off, only time will tell.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that teaching ethics, though, is something, is it an intellectual exercise, or does it have to go deeper?
No, I think it has to go deeper. And I think, as I said, the question is whether at that point when do you learn your values? Because at that point in your life, is it too late? I don't know the answer to that. You have to go to your psychological group.
Well, hopefully it's not too late.
Hopefully it's not too late.
Try to do some of that here.
What I've seen is that people that get in trouble convert over, and they're different people after they finally get converted.
Well, maybe not such a bad thing then.
Yeah.
Well, interesting. Another topic. You've been involved with healthcare in your policy and your career at the national level. Tell us about your experience there, and do you have any opinions, ideas, suggestions about where we are with healthcare in this country?
Yeah, the answer to that, yes, I do.
Yeah.
I think about it. So somebody once said, if you study subject an hour a day, after 5 years you'll be quoted. Okay, and I think that's true. I think if you study, and that's thousands of hours, and they're not necessarily be quoted. It's some national thing, but it's some friend of yours that tells somebody, a friend of somebody said, right? So I have been around the healthcare business for 30 years. And watching, and the U.S. has a really great, I'll call it medical treatment ability. If you get sick, or if you've got a problem, or you need an operation, we're the best in the world. There's other competition with you. Okay, but in terms of our healthcare system, in a broader sense, we're not that great. And you look at average lifespans and this type of thing. Okay, now why? In the military area, we have something called the military-industrial complex, and they're the ones that keep the machinery going to build tanks and planes and all kinds of stuff. And they fuel the military and create military problems, and that's the military-industrial complex. I don't know if that term is still around, but that's okay. Now, the military-industrial complex needs wars or potential wars in order to be alive. Otherwise, we wouldn't need weapons. We have peace. We finally get peace. We don't need weapons. The medical industrial complex, or the pharmaceutical medical industrial complex, we've got a lot of similarities to that. And it's not that they're bad people, just like the military industrial, they're not bad people. But our medical and our healthcare system is geared toward illness. If we were to make everybody healthy, that would be the end of the whole medical profession. We wouldn't need it, right? So our system is geared toward solving illness, not preventing illness. And that is the heart and soul of our problem in our healthcare system. And we spend enormous amounts of money on that. So, along the way, you remember back in the Clinton days, we had Hillary care, and Hillary care came off and got killed. And then the president put together a commission on healthcare for healthcare quality. And the goal was to do a patient bill of rights. And another thing all you people owe me is myself and a few of these people that were on that commission did not go along with having a patient bill of rights. Why? Because the business people knew what this would lead to would be more lawsuits. Okay, you had rights. Some doctor violated them, and you'd be in court because someone wouldn't. So, on the other hand, we came up with this idea of, like we have in the business community, we have the Financial Accounting Standards Board, and it sets how you measure and how you report on your financial. Everybody's reporting and measuring in a common way. And so we came up with this idea of forming a company, or an entity, which we called the National Forum for Healthcare Quality Measurement and Reporting. Has anybody ever heard of it? No. Okay. So we formed that, and we went over to the White House, and we proposed that, and they turned around and said, "No, you guys do it." So we had a meeting of some of the guys who were interested in this, and the idea was, okay, we're gonna. First of all, there was Jack Wenberg, who's from Dartmouth. Anybody ever heard of him? He did a lot of studies on healthcare results, and his studies showed that if you had heart disease, the best place in the country to go is Houston, Texas. And if you had diabetes, the best place for that would be, because he was doing measurement of results. Well, you never heard of them because the guy was supposed to decide. So the healthcare community is extremely powerful, extremely powerful. And so we form this thing, we get together, and I'm one of the people, say a half a dozen people. So what are we going to do? So it's one of the things. All right, so where should we locate it? That was the first one. I said, I recommend anywhere in Washington, D.C. I said, put it in one of the healthcare centers, put it in Boston. I got the answer. I was voted down, Washington, D.C. Next is, well, who should we put on the board? I said, well, the board should consist of people that are paying for healthcare, business people, Medicare, blah, blah, blah. So I'm used to defeats. So they said, all right, business, you go find a business person, and we'll let him on the board. Okay, so that was my assignment. So I go find a business person. And I talked to this guy who used to be the head of one of the accounting firms, who was on the FSB. And I said, you got to go on school. He said, no, I'm busy. I don't have time. I said, well, you got to do public service. Public service. Okay, I'm on board. Anyway, 6 months later, he called me and said, Paul, I'm getting off the doors. Why? They don't want to do it anymore. They don't want to do it. They don't want to follow the mission. And they have, and the organization still exists, but they've changed the name. It's called the NQF, the National Quality Forum. And they go around, they do some things, you can Google them and find it, different things. But it wasn't the idea of what this was supposed to be. This was supposed to be set standards for measurement of effects, certain kinds of operations, certain kinds of treatments, different locations. What are the outcomes? You know, how many people live, how many people die, how many people have side effects? So that and costs. And what does it cost? What does it cost? What does it cost? So that now the population and everybody has total information about this in a uniform way. Doesn't want to do it. So forget that. All right. So recommendations. If I were to be the emperor, I'd say number one, for all the people that don't have health care, I would go to government clinics. I would go to clinics. You see clinics popping up now, pharmaceuticals, or there's some clinics around. So I would put clinics together. So anybody that is sick, go to a clinic. If you don't have insurance, go to a clinic. Then I would take the medical doctors who are coming out of school with these huge debts, and I would say, public service, you work in the clinics, and over a period of time, we will lose your debt, and try to bring them back into public service. So that's how I would try to cover uninsured people. The other thing I would try to do would be sometimes integrate them with the emergency rooms, because emergency rooms, anybody been in emergency rooms, some of them are like lines of people waiting, and other of them are empty. Well, there's a huge amount of overhead. The reason our emergency rooms are the most expensive, they always say the most expensive treatment centers, is because of the overhead sitting there waiting for patients. So if you integrated that with a clinic, then you'd have patients coming to the clinic and you'd utilize those services, those facilities, and then when an emergency happens, you divert all the people that are working in the clinic to the emergency room. Something like that. To me, there's something like that. Next is prevention. Teaching prevention. We don't teach prevention. So I don't want to say shame on your education system, but our education system does not teach prevention. And, you know, healthy lifestyle, so you get a little bit here and there, but it's not part of our education curriculum as a result.
Well, I have time for one more question, and then we'll stop and take questions from the audience. So how about this one? You're a patron of the arts, in particular, a devotee of the opera. And we mentioned you serve on a number of boards, including having served on the Metropolitan Opera. I believe you're a musician. You play piano, and tell us about the arts and how you feel about why you support it and what the value is there.
Well, I mentioned when you talk about arts and sciences, what it does to your mind in terms of creativity. And I think that's what has been the appeal. We had always had music in the family. I tried visual arts for a while, and I went to piano. But it's a creative opportunity. It's kind of stimulating, and it's also therapeutic. As a matter of fact, the NIH is now considering doing a research program, I think this year, on the health effects of music. And they're trying to get backers from it, but money to support it. Anyway, but I think that's on the agenda for the NIH going forward. And but I think it has positive therapeutic effects. It's stimulating, it's creative. And we had opera in our family. In Scranton, my grandfather loved opera. There was no live opera, but they were Italians, and they were Italian and opera. And at that time, we'd go Caruso and he was famous, and I think everybody felt like, so opera was so, when Sandra and I went to New York, well, the first thing we did was down the old Met. We bought the student tickets, they were way up in the balcony, and now these little tiny people, but it was a great experience. But we did other musical things when we were there, and we got the student tickets to go to Carnegie Hall to hear Arthur Rubinstein play the piano. The student tickets were stage seats, just like this. And here I'm Arthur Rubinstein playing the piano, and it was first come, first served, so we came very early and sat right there and watched him play the piano, and it was a wonderful experience. And afterward, he shook everybody's hand was up there. Everybody's hand, different than everybody else's hand, like his knuckles were not like real knuckles. I'm sure he started playing when he was a kid. He just had the flexibility right there. I was shocked they would shake everybody's hand, right? His hands were so light. But anyway, so we went to a lot of orchestra, very Philharmonic, and elderly and took opera. Why? Because opera to us is like the peak of music. It's got everything. It's got singing, it's got orchestra, it's got dancing, it's got theater, it's got drama, it's got emotion, and so forth and so on. So that became kind of our addiction. And then that went to an addiction to the Met Opera. And then I got on the advisory board, I got the managing director, executive committee, chairman, finance committee, and then came time to be the CEO of an outsider anyway. So at the time, and it's a really complex organization, so the CEO is going and we got to replace him. There's only two people that could do it, myself and this investment guy in New York. It's not too busy probably to do it. So I took it, I was the first CEO of New York for the Met, and I used to move down there. Very complex, 16 unions, stage hands, egos galore between directors. You got 50 directors, they're all big contributors, and we got egos, opera singers. I mean, you name it. Lincoln Center, New York City Institution, there's pictures of fierce New York stuff going on with that at the center. It's like, it was almost a full-time job.
Wow.
Anyway, we survived it, and the Met does 220 performances a year. There's 25 to 30 operas. There's rehearsals going on all the time. There's 5 stages there. There's 2 below, and you have besides the performances, you have, as I say, the rehearsals, and then you have special events. It's a complex challenge. I mean, it's more complex than any business I've ever been in. And by the way, operationally, on April 25th in the year 2000, at the end of the opera, and it was Placido Domingo singing, the curtain comes down seconds before the time it was supposed to. Seconds. Like it comes down slowly, and he's still singing, and it just closed off, and he hadn't quite finished. And of course, opera audiences are as emotional as can be. I mean, it was booing and hissing, but it was the first error I had seen at the Metropolitan Opera in like 30 or 40 years.
Oh my goodness.
They are really superb. I used to tell my operating guys, go there, and you think about even such things as, there's like 200 cues in each opera. Like, precise, you see somebody walk out on the stage, that sees it. First of all, like the big singer, they're in the dressing room. We have a person that goes to the dressing room to make sure, wake them up, and bring them down because they're going to have to be there. You can't just sit there, they're going to show up. No, it doesn't work that way. So the machinery back there is just incredible, and so it's great.
Oh, wow. And there's nothing like hearing opera live. So if you've not done it, I recommend it. What a great experience. Well, we can talk all night.
You got the wrong person. I can talk all night.
No. I've got about 5 more questions we can ask, but in the interest of time, and I'm sure there are some questions, why don't we have some questions from the audience? Michael.
I understand you have extensive car collection.
Yes.
And you said sold. I'm kind of curious, what was your favorite car in that collection? Did you keep it?
All right, so I do have a car collection. I've always been interested in old cars. And you mixed me up with my partner. He sold all his cars. I laughed. I do buy and sell a few every now and again. And I would say it's the favorite car is a move thing. I like the cars from the teens. They're really beautiful, clever designs. I like the stuff. And I like the classic era, which was the 30s. And then I have my nostalgia era, which was the 50s. And there's certain cars in there. Probably, I would have to say, if my wife were here, I would have to say my favorite car is a 1951 Chevy Deluxe Convertible, because that's the car we dated. And I love it. But there are other cars like that in that era.
Wow.
Paul, most of the companies you've led have been on the New Hampshire seacoast. Is that because you like to live there, or was there a reason?
Well, we're headquartered in the New Hampshire seacoast, but the company's been all over the place.
Yeah.
And
You stayed on the seacoast.
stayed on the seacoast, yeah. Well, we came to the seacoast from New York City in the 70s. New York City was such a huge gray area. Remember, Arab oil embargo, gas lines, terrorist threats. A lot of companies decided to move out of New York. They went to the suburbs, Westchester County, and so forth. We decided there was going to be a terrorist attack. That's too close. We have to go further. So we discovered New Hampshire. And we had two requirements that were important to us. One was that we had to be in the AT&T telephone system. As you may remember, at that point, you had AT&T monopoly and you had country telephone system, because we had international, we had that. And second, we had to be within an hour of the international airport, which was Logan. So we came right over the border, and that's why we're in Seacoast.
No need to put you on the spot, but I'm curious if you have a favorite opera.
A favorite opera? Well, I'm Italian. So we narrow it down to that. And I would say Puccini's Turandot. Right, Coach, what do you think?
Yes, I agree.
But there's a lot of close ones to that. I mean, Traviata, Bohème, there's a whole bunch of close ones. But that one's got, what I like about it is, you know, the Italian operas basically, other than Falstaff and a few of the comedies, end with death. The principal, usually a woman, dies. So it's all very sad. You need all that emotion. That's all part of the emotion. Well, in Turandot, there's a death, but it's not at the end. At the end is happiness, love. Got a great ending. The triumph is love.
Thanks for the question. Okay, you said that you would like to do an app. Did you have one in mind?
I have. The answer to that is sort of. No, I'd like to do an app just to bring back my programming skills. Because one of the things I put together, one of my other little habits is wine. And years ago, I did something called a wine vintage guide. And I actually have the trademark on exactly that wine vintage guide. Okay? And there's a lot of people who like having that trademark. I gotta keep that trademark. But that's the app I want to do, an app that talks about quality of wines based on vintage. So here's my app. Waiting.
I think there's some people
I
in
can't
this
get
audience
enough
who use that. That's a great idea.
You were talking about the healthcare system and the kind of juggernaut that it's in needs to reposition itself. That it we, you know, if we really got ourselves healthier, then it would put everybody out of business. And most businesses, obviously, that face that kind of constraint will need to shift their core competencies. So, you know, Amazon is no longer seen as a bookseller, and Apple isn't about selling computers any longer. The military, you know, that are making large shifts in times when there's not a war, then they realize, well, actually, we do big constructions and they'll move into building bridges or something like that. So in order to move this juggernaut of everyone that has vested, you know, billions of dollars and don't want their industry to change, what are the kind of core competencies of some of the medical suppliers, the researchers, the brokers? You know, we've got 5 layers of brokerage in this. What do you think that they could do if we start essentially putting some of those services out of business? business, as soon as you reposition it, then what do you think, what are the opportunities for them as separate businesses?
Right, okay, so just offhand, my experience is I would have to put the whole thing about insurance aside. We have Tom Rothman here, so you'd have to ask him about that piece of it out there, because I can't picture what they would have to do with the pieces I've been in, which have been in instrumentation, technical stuff like that, and research. I think that a lot of that could shift to prevention. In other words, and you see a little bit of this now, where these little things you can monitor, little techie things where you can monitor your heart and all those things. So I think that the opportunity is there. I don't know how big it would be compared to the juggernaut you mentioned, but in terms of once we get into prevention, then we're going to be trying to measure its effectiveness and that kind of stuff. And there could be applications. Certainly, there's techie stuff that could be done. Excuse me. And certainly, research could continue in those areas for people that are doing research. And I mean, I can't picture it being quite as big, but I can picture it being somewhat interesting.
Question from any of the students here? Tushani, question? Well, perhaps, oh, yeah, there you go, okay.
I'm not a nerd. What was your favorite part about working in Pentagon?
Well, what?
About working in Pentagon. Your favorite part?
Well, I think that I would say having an impact was my favorite part. In other words, we were doing technical things, but we would do things like value an ally. You wouldn't think about it, that you apply analytics to that, but how would you value a certain ally from the point of view of where I was working with these logistics? It would be, okay, we know, given all the military scenarios and all the analysis, it's going to cost us X amount to do the logistics for that war. Now, what if we had a place to land here? What would that? So that becomes, that tells you a little bit about your alliances and the ability to utilize foreign locations to help you and that kind of stuff. So the potential impact, and we were talking, the military budget is much bigger now, but it was huge for its time. And so we were talking about saving taxpayers a lot of money and effectively increasing the effectiveness of our military. So to me, impact was my favorite part.
Okay, one final question.
I know you talked about your successes and your adventurous career paths. Do you have any opportunities that you regret not taking?
Opportunity.
You regret not taking?
Well, I regret not being a geek, I tell you that. I mean, that to me was the biggest downfall. I would say there, not in a big, broad sense. There's a lot of opportunities. When we were building our companies, we were always trying to acquire things and so forth. And I would say there were opportunities that we missed because, or we passed up because either the price was too high and we didn't realize that the value was there, or there's something that we misassessed on the impact of something 5 years later. So there's a lot of things like that. But in terms of my personal career, like what I'd rather gone this way, is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Other than that? No, I can't pick. I don't look at that. I'm not sure right now. It kind of had, I told you I started at 1, 2, 3 jobs. First job, really bad. First, second job. And third job was it was a consulting business, and I decided to play consulting business. And then I hit on, I mentioned relationships. I mentioned the importance of relationships. Okay, so the last job, which was with Mike, which I lasted 4 years, the way I got that job was the head of Hydrogen Struggles, a big recruiting firm, was Grant. he was not a classmate, about Jerry Roach. And Jerry, you know, he saw my resume. One of his guys saw my resume, and so I saw University of Scranton, so don't ever with me become NEC or people recognize University of Scranton. So I want to see this guy. He interviewed me, then he introduced me to Mike. That's how I got the job. So relationships. And the key to relationships is giving of yourself. Giving of yourself, that's what builds relationships. And by the way, Fortune ran an article at some point like the top 10 up-and-coming executives of the United States of America. And I showed up. And the reason was very simple, because they called Jerry Roach. He was that invited to his cousin, I was ready to go. Paul Montrone, so I had nothing to do with me. I had to do with my relationship with Jerry Roach.
Well, I think there's that humility coming through, which is an important quality. Wow, this has just been amazing. We could be here all night.
We could be here all night.
But thank you so much, Paul, for that.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.